Sean here with BaseMint Comics, and it is the night before New Comic Wednesday, so sticking with the theme of last week's episode, which I thought went pretty well. I was going to stick with talking about books that I picked up last week. Very topical. So I was going to go through three and kind of go in the order that I enjoyed them. So first up is Unbreakable X-Men, and I saw a lot of not thrilled people about this, some very clickbaity titles out there on the internet about this particular issue. I think there's a large group of people who don't really enjoy Simone's Uncanny X-Men right now. I am not one of them. I thoroughly enjoy her work on Uncanny X-Men so far and have been really digging the title. To me, my first exposure to like a new generation of X-Men, like I came into comics towards the tail end of New Mutants and the beginning of X-Force. And those characters were already well established, had done like tons of things, suffered tragedy and had some triumphs, and weren't necessarily newbies. We're definitely older and kind of sick and tired of being considered that class. One of my favorite issues of all time is the X-Force issue where Sam like graduates and becomes an X-Men around late 95, early 96. And I really liked like being, relatively, new to comics during that time period. It was nice to kind of see forward momentum and see one of the younger kids kind of graduate. And so my like class of new X-Men was the Generation X kids who were brought in during the Phalanx Covenant series, and they were kind of rolled out, like Jubilee was like your established through point of like, she'd already been there for years as a full-fledged X-Men, which was kind of a nice thing and enjoyable for some tension between the other members. And you'd met Paige when she was younger, but the rest of the team was kind of introduced during the Phalanx Covenant crossover and kind of one at a time. And the kids, the four new characters that are kind of being put under Rogue and Gambit and Wolverine and Nightcrawler's wing in this series have kind of been, like, it's been nice to just get to know four of them, as opposed to like years later when the new X-Men title came out, which I enjoyed immensely, but it was like in the post-Morrison mutant boom where the school was a school again, but like really the first time it had been like a school, and you were legitimately given like Hogwarts classes of kids, there were the Hellions and all sorts of stuff, and almost for my old brain, like too many kids to get to know. So I kind of like the smaller group of kids in this. Anyways, so we're obviously in the Age of Revelation storyline, and I know I keep on comparing this to Age of Apocalypse because that is like my high watermark for when it comes to like these alternate reality, possible future, obviously other than Days of Future Past, but when it comes to like a line-wide event, Age of Apocalypse tends to kind of be the bar. And the issue that I'm having with this so far is that like Age of Apocalypse, most X-Men fans that I've come across tend to be all in, like across the line, picking up every title. And one of the things that I liked about Age of Apocalypse was that like X-Men Alpha bled right into Astonishing X-Men #1. You set up like what the teams were supposed to do in the individual titles, but there was a through line that connected them. And if you read them kind of in chronological order as they came out, like the whole thing flows like one giant story. And this so far does not do that for me, but I like the characters in this book enough that I enjoyed this title. It oddly, Galactus shows up, Rogue winds up taking him on and winds up becoming a giant Galactus statue. But the thing that I found interesting in this, so Gambit's kind of on his own. He's gone blind and sort of lost his way over these years because the love of his life is gone. But when we get the jump forward in time to the present Age of Revelation time period during this, it's nice to see like the character Ransom older. That's been kind of interesting. You're they're kind of introduced to some newer kids in this, but Shuvarak and Miss Henrietta from earlier in the series come back, and Shuvarak is kind of like he's kind of guarding a afterlife for humans who betrayed mutants in their family, which I thought was a pretty interesting thing. And so clearly, like, this character is like bubbling up from the surface in this, which is pretty interesting. So I enjoyed it. Like, it's a solid continuation of the Uncanny book without losing sight of the fact that there's kind of some stuff at play, but it doesn't feel super entrenched in the Age of Revelation thing. It's kind of still carrying its own story, which is nice. So I dug it. I saw a lot of people irritated with it online in the little bit of searching that I did, and immediately kind of checked out of that because, who needs negativity? Up next, that I really enjoyed, and I have been enjoying this entire series, is One World Under Doom. This is issue 8. I believe there's only 9. When I picked up the issue in last week's video, I talked about how, like, this event has been going on kind of for a while, but it's been really good. Like, I do not hide the fact that Ryan North's Fantastic Four has been probably my favorite Marvel title being released over the last year, with Uncanny being a close second. And this event has absolutely lived up to its hype. And, we kind of, Val in this issue tries to reach out to Doom and get him to stop doing what he's doing. And there's kind of, like, a good discussion between two of those, but obviously Doom does not listen to her. And then it's up to the heroes. There's a lot of X-Men stuff, a lot of, like, combining of the powers to take on Doom. So it's one big, like, heroes versus Doom fight, full of really great stuff and spoilers. Here you go. You get a fantastic, worthy Ben Grimm lifting Stormbreaker and smashing it into Doom for a pretty good clobbering time. And that was great. And then Doom decides to, like, set a fixed point that the heroes cannot get out of, and then, like, explodes his armor into them. And that winds up with a devastating final page. And if it is a fixed point in time, like Doom said it is, and they can't, like, go back and undo this, it is an incredibly shocking death, one that will have ramifications, particularly in the Fantastic Four series, but it will definitely have some ramifications for Doom. I don't think he's going to take that one very well, but it's his own fault. Hubris, I guess, finally got him. And then my favorite book of the week was one that wasn't even on my pull list, that I made a day and date decision, and it was Fantastic Four Gargoyles. This was awesome. Like, I do not have a, like, avid recollection of the cartoon. I know that I watched it as a kid, but it didn't particularly stick. I appreciated the recap page because it caught me up pretty quick and sort of like, the gears started going, and I was like, oh, I remember this, so on and so forth. Art in it was really great. Diablo's in it, which is fantastic. There's some really good, like, humor in it. And I liked kind of the connotation that the gargoyles are actually a part of the like, it was kind of hinted that they were there, just off doing their own thing and not ever crossing over. But you get the Great Gargoyle to show up, and Tony Stark appears, and there's Gargoyle from the Defenders series, who I absolutely love. And in the end of the book, it sort of, just like, this thing is, like, jam-packed. It's super fun. Definitely worth the $5.99 price tag. Art's great. Story's great. It's just, like, fun. And that's all you need from comics. It's fun. And it ends with kind of Gargoyle from the Defenders just being kind of, like, taken in by the Gargoyles, which I thought was awesome because that's a character that, like, no one's really done anything with in years. He's kind of just hanging out there. So this was, like, the last I ever saw of that character, which I really like from when I read Defenders the first time, and I'm currently He's sort of just been introduced in the Cornerbacks Classics thing that I'm doing in the other videos. And great character, and so I was really happy to see him have kind of a place. And if that's all, like they kind of hint like, you know, never the end as the end. But if this was all I got, and this was the other thing. Hats off to Marvel for making this a one-shot and not a 4 or 5 issue miniseries that was dragged out. It was a one and done, super fun, easy breezy, like read it twice, loved it. And happy to see kind of that character get a send-off. If that was the send-off as a Gargoyle fan, I would be perfectly happy with that. So those are the 3 books that I really dug from last week. I mean, I dug all of them, but those are the 3 that I chose to talk about. And not tonight, but tomorrow morning, Hank and I, hopefully, weather permitting, looks like it's possibly going to rain, we will bike up to the shop and pick up our new books and show off what we got when we get back from the ride. So let's hit the trails tomorrow. All right, so clearly it's been raining all day, pal. So no bike ride to the comic book store. We're gonna have to take the stupid car. So we're gonna go to the comic book store, and then we're gonna go pick up a cheese pizza just for you, so we can watch some hockey and have pizza. Are you ready to go to the comic book store? Okay.
The other way.
The other way? This is the way. All right, so no bike ride because it's been raining all day. So it's a car ride. What a bummer. All right, so we are back from unfortunately driving to the comic book store instead of taking a bike ride because I would bike in the rain, no problem, did for years, but I don't put poor Hank through that. He doesn't deserve that. About the only thing that's going to stop us from biking, not that anyone really cares, the biking's for us, is obviously consistent rain and negative degree temperature. We bike through the winter, the wheels come off and you can attach skis to it, so we're gonna have no problem getting up to the shop, but when it gets like below 0 or even single digits with him, like I'll still bike up there, but he probably won't be making those trips if it dips below a certain temperature. Anyways, I got tea in my fancy, this should be lit up, but by now it's like warm and not hot, so it changes color with hot liquids. So that's pretty cool. That was a Christmas gift years back from the missus. So we picked up our new books and 2 back issues and a tiny hockey figure for Hank. So first up, for the 2 of us, is Uncle Scrooge's Earth's Mightiest Duck by Jason Aaron. This has been super fun. We're both big DuckTales fans. I am happy to report that he is as much into the original cartoon DuckTales as he is the new David Tennant one that was from a few years ago. There's an advertisement for his current new favorite show, Iron Man and His Awesome Friends, which cracks me up because when that was announced, I had to laugh because like I got a sponsored ad on some social media. And I looked at the comments, which was a dumb thing for me to do, because it was like grown-ass adults complaining about a children's show and how it was dumb and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, it is, because it's meant for toddlers. Like, and I'm sorry, but I grew up in a time period where there was like none of this stuff. And like we had comics, we were barely cracking into toys and animation, and we're still years off from the movies. So the fact that like kids are, and I get it, it's probably not trickling down and transferring to these kids actually going into the comic book store and reading comics, but who cares? Who cares? The fact that my kid can say Captain America is fun, and the fact that like this is just normalized and part of pop culture in our world, and like every, you know, my sister knows Groot. That's awesome. That's a fantastic world to live in. And I think when people get squirrely about children's shows, like this poor kid enjoying spiting his amazing friends right now. And then I'm going to have to, when he's older, break the bad news to him that Spider-Man is nothing but tragedy. His beloved Ghost Spider was dropped off a bridge years back. That's some trauma I'm going to have to deal with for the poor kid. So let him enjoy their Iron Man and his awesome friends. It's fine. Anyways, rant over about that one. Just like, seriously, childless adults. Like, this doesn't, come on. It's not for you. Not everything has to be for us. X-Men Book of Revelation, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Cypher being Apocalypse. It's weird. I'm not that into it. When I flip through it, there's like, it's the same guy who's currently drawing X-Men when Stegman isn't, so the art isn't terrible. And it seems to have quite a few of the Araco like horsemen, which were great characters when they were introduced in the Krakoan age. You know, but this is sort of chugging along, and I don't know what the overall plan is for this. Like, I know that I keep on doing this, comparing it to Age of Apocalypse, which I shouldn't, but, you know, it set the table for all these types of alternate reality line-wide events. Like, you want to do an alternate reality in one title, that's fine. But if you do it as a line event, it's going to get compared to the GOAT. And that one is Age of Apocalypse. And that one you knew, first couple issues, exactly what the plan was and what you were kind of in store for. And every curveball was good, but I have no idea what this book is about. But I'm going to find out, and maybe I'll talk about it next weekend. Speaking of books, or next week. Iron and Frost. This one I was excited for, and when I got home from the comic book shop last week, I realized that it wasn't there. My shop didn't get any, and like a rational person, I went, oh, okay, they'll probably get it next week, and I just waited a week. But I know from experience and seeing people melt down in comic book stores when books don't arrive when they're supposed to, that they'll rush off to a different store that got it and stick their shop with copies of it, which is totally bogus. So I just waited. I haven't been spoiled because I don't really go on the internet for comic stuff, which is probably not what I should say since I've got a whole YouTube channel about talking about comics. I do check out other channels. There are some that I enjoy, quite a lot that I don't. But yeah, I really liked this relationship in the Krakoan era towards the end of it. And so this was actually one of the Age of Revelations books that I was really excited about. So I'm happy to finally get to give this a listen. Hank is like losing his mind upstairs right now, all jacked up on pizza. Up next, Omega Kids, #1. I have a love-hate relationship with Quentin Quire. I was not a fan in the beginning. Amongst my pals, they are very aware that I do not have much room in my heart for Grant Morrison's new X-Men run. It came out during a difficult time period in my life where I had just lost my mom, and it was just too much change. Like, the movies came out, everybody was wearing black leather, that pissed me off. And then the comics suddenly started to match the movies, which I was like, this does not bode well for the future. There were elements of Morrison's run that I eventually grew to like, but I also didn't like the decade or so that it took to kind of course correct some of the things that he did, and then some of the things that Bendis came in and did during House of M to like course correct things that Morrison did, and it just kind of like, it really screwed the X titles for quite a long time. In fact, we're still like, I don't even know if there was like hope at the beginning of Krakoa, but I still, maybe one day I'll like revisit all of those books and give my own opinion on that. But you know, I'm really looking forward to like a fresh start. So I the older that the character gets, the more that I'm okay with him. But I feel like he's one of those characters that if writers come in and they love Morrison, they immediately like set him back. And so it's a character where they're like, they hint, like they're dropping little like, oh look, he's growing, he's becoming an adult and part of the X-Men. And then they snatch it away with like a new writer. And they're like, oh, he's back to being, teen Quentin Quire. And so I'm looking forward to some of the new X-Men kids finally kind of getting to be adults in the universe. Next, The Last Wolverine #1. I enjoyed the arc where Wolverine was like helping out this Wendigo kid. I like, the phases of Dad Wolverine, Kitty, Jubilee, Armor, like kind of when he does that, when he takes a young mutant under his wing. I dig that aspect of Wolverine. So I enjoyed this, I believe, more than a lot of other folks that I saw on the internet kind of not digging this Wolverine storyline. So having this set 10 years in the future where that character has taken on the mantle of Wolverine sort of feels fitting in following up on that run and making this feel still connected to the title that came before it. Now we are getting into the book, 2 books this week that I was really jazzed to try. Like these ones, I'm like, hooray, this is all good, and hopefully I enjoy them. But I have high hopes for Joe Kelly and Kev Walker's Radioactive Spider-Man #1. I like the fact that he got thrown into a mutant crossover, because for a good chunk of my youth, he was like the tagline on like the Spider-Man books was like the non-mutant superhero. And I dig Joe Kelly's run right now, so having a little mini in the X universe is good, and I really enjoy Kev Walker's pencils, so that's pretty exciting. So I've got pretty high hopes when it comes to like the line-wide event for this book in particular. And then last of the new books that I picked up, so the one I'm most excited for, is Fantastic Four #4, or number 730 if you're old like me. It's no secret that Ryan North's Fantastic Four is my favorite Marvel book that they're putting out. I've been loving One World Under Doom, which I talked about earlier in the video last night, but earlier in the video. So pretty jazzed, and I think that the world's greatest comics magazine is absolutely, like, it's back. It's Ryan North's Fantastic Four is super fun. If you've never been a Fantastic Four fan and you thought they're like stodgy and not cool or whatever, I would definitely go back and give his run a chance, because it's a lot of like one and done, self-contained, interesting stories. He's doing a great job. Humberto Ramos is always fun on art, and I can't speak more highly of a title than the current run of Fantastic Four. It is the world's greatest comics magazine. When it came to back issues, I decided, because I am getting excited in the Cornerbox Classics, to, I think I'm like 2 years away from finally being able to read the West Coast Avengers. But when I finished that run, I was very excited. Like, I'm looking forward to reading it. And so I grabbed a couple of Iron Man issues, 286 and 285, this one, because it's clearly like featuring the West Coast Avengers. So I was like, oh man, when I get to the West Coast Avengers, so obviously there's going to be some tie-in there. And I didn't have these issues, so I was happy to toss a couple bucks at the shop for some back issues. So those are the books that I picked up on Wednesday. You can probably already guess the titles that I'm probably going to talk about next week. Had my birthday this weekend. My best pal, let's see, one sec. My childhood best pal came in. He was, his parents have a cabin in northern Michigan that we used to go to as kids. I would spend summers there. We would play with our X-Men action figures there. It was our Savage Land. and his parents are much like my dad, getting up there in age, which is weird because, like, we were actually talking about this over the weekend where I was like, when I'm there and I see your dad or I see my dad, I recognize that they are in their 80s. But then the second I drive away, like if I'm 2 miles down the road from visiting with them, they're my age in my head. And so he was here to help them close it up and get to the airport to head back down south for the winter. So he stopped and stayed here for about 2 weeks with another friend of ours, because I am adverse to house guests because I have a 3-year-old. So he was staying with a buddy of ours and stopping over, obviously, because he loves spending time down here and looking around and getting caught up because he's in the military and kind of transient for 25 years and just sort of waiting to eventually one day inherit the cabin up north, and then he can have all his comics and stuff with this. So that's us back in the day, dressed up as Gambit and Wolverine in the last year that we went trick-or-treating. I actually met Fabian Assisi, and he confirmed that my buddy Chris was the first ever Deadpool cosplayer, because that was probably back in 93, I think, maybe 94. It was 94 at the latest. And that is a full-on, like, homemade. I was very, very bummed at my mom for not springing for a brown bathrobe and just had to use my blue one, which was a super huge bum out. And you can't tell in this picture, but Chris has his glasses over the Deadpool mask, which is hilarious. I probably should have saved that for Halloween. For if I have an idea for a Halloween episode. But that was kind of my idea there. So birthday was this weekend. Had cake, got some presents. I don't have any of them handy because I started putting them up, but I got some, I had purchased some Marvel Legends and whatnot. Got this from Hank, which I will discuss in another episode, because this ties into a very cool thing that happened last year where, as a hint, I read a letter in an old Avengers comic from the 60s, and discovered a relative in the letters page that we never knew, that we read comic. Like, I knew him, I thought, anyways, I'll get into it in a different video, and sort of that connected us, and I wound up acquiring some of his collection as he was getting rid of it. So this ties into that. So it was a good time was had by all. I was excited about this new Comic Book Wednesday, and I am into February 1982 for the Cornerbacks Classics, which will be coming up. And so, yeah. So if you enjoy what is going on with this channel and me ranting about Marvel Comics and only Marvel Comics, and talking about new books a week late and 40-year-old comics, then you should subscribe and like and comment, and we can chat about it. So thanks for sticking with us, even though we had to take this stupid car. Hopefully the weather will permit us to be back on the bike next Wednesday. Let's fingers crossed for sunny fall-like weather a few days before Halloween. And I have a Halloween episode in the works, because there are 3 books that I love to read every spooky season. On Halloween, I read Days of Future Past, because Days of Future Past, if you read it, takes place on Halloween. So I read that every Halloween, and then I read a very exciting Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange graphic novel from the 80s. That is probably my favorite Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange tale, and so I'm going to save that one for its own video. So plenty to look forward to. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you would like. I'd appreciate it. And I will see you in a couple days with a Cornerbox Classics from February of 1982. thanks for taking this ride with us. Bye.